really fast on nerves sometimes, so y'all just have to listen to it really good. Okay, first thing about me is I'm definitely here. Just me sitting here and looking at y'all is a miracle. My breasts are miracles from God because I shouldn't be here right now. And y'all probably have a chance to see me cry because I felt well enough inside. Just being with my brother and witnessing this is such a great thing. I just want to tell y'all a little bit about myself. I don't want y'all to think of it like a story and like a movie that could be on TV because there's power behind it. Because Jesus Christ definitely changed my life. He changed everything about me, or else I wouldn't be here right now. I guess I'll start out. When I was a little kid, we had a pretty good home. A lot of fighting in our home. And I'd say about the age of 9, I smoked pot for my first time. And it really did make me high, but just smoking the pot, and I was always so afraid of it. Just doing it for the first time, it kind of calmed my nerves, and that was definitely a thing that when it come back around, that I wasn't scared anymore. So about the age of 11, started really dabbling into drugs, and really getting in trouble, and that's when things started to fall apart. It started to fall apart in our house, between our parents, and definitely in my life. And my parents were fighting a whole lot. And they decided they were going to divorce, which it was a good thing for me. It made me feel good because no longer did I have to hear my parents fighting all the time. So when they decided they were going to split up, I decided I was going to stay with my dad. And my brother and my sisters went with my mom. And my dad was paranoid schizophrenic, so it was kind of real hard on me growing up. And just having drugs there for me, something to calm me down and make me forget. I really got attached to him, so my dad, he started going a whole lot crazier than he was, and just started to do stupid stuff, and I was a kid, and I had the responsibility of taking care of my dad and trying to watch after him. It was really scary, it was really hurtful. I guess the age of 14, I started messing around with gangs and cliques, and that's when my life really started to change, because that's when I got introduced to harder drugs, even more drugs, and the more I did drugs, the more withdrawn I was, the more I hated myself. I just got to the point where I despised the person I was, and I just hated me. I hated to be around people because I hated myself so much. And I could just feel the hell in my heart and the corruption. So it was hard. Church people would try to reach out to me, but in my heart I hated them because they were happy, and I definitely wasn't happy. And my heart was dark. And I like the dark side because it made me feel good, because that's where the drugs and that's where bad things existed, and I wanted to be far away from good things. So my life continued to get worse and worse. I just kept dabbling with the dark, and just kept getting worse and worse on drugs. At the age of, I was either 16 or 17, I entered my first rehab. It was a Christian rehab because most government programs you have to pay for it, and I was in the position where my family really didn't want me no more because I was so much trouble and I didn't have no place to stay. So I went to a Christian rehab, and it was a new side of God that I found out about, because it was people that was struggling with the same stuff I was, and they were so happy. And at first I resented them because I saw the happiness in their smile, and I wasn't happy. I hated me, and I didn't want to live. So slowly I started praying and listening and trying to talk to God a little bit. I still didn't really believe in it, but I believed in the smiles I saw on other faces and the happiness I could see inside of it. So in rehab, it really seemed like I had changed. My family started coming back around, and they started to love me again. I'm sure they loved me before, but I was just in such darkness, and I hated myself so much that I couldn't see people loving me. I was blind to it. So my family started coming back around, and they would come visit me a lot. So I left there, and the next day I went and started getting high again. And things just kept getting worse and worse. People I knew were dying, and it was just terrible. I overdosed 3 times before I got back to rehab again. And it just kept getting worse and worse. And like I would do such stupid things, and I could feel the darkness inside of me, and I would hate it, I would despise it. But there's hospital after overdosing and then go right back to drugs because it made me feel so good. So I went to rehab a second time, and I thought I'd changed again. I started talking to my family again, but this time they were a little bit less receptive to my change because I told them I changed before, and I know they still love me, but it was just hard for me to tell them that everything was going to be different this time because it wasn't the last time. So I went through rehab, and I did really, really good. And as I was leaving, somebody came to pick me up, and on the way home, one of our drug dealers called and told us to come pick up some more drugs. So the next day, I'm using them again right after I left rehab, and I was sober for 4 months. So I leave there, and then I start shooting a lot of speed, which is using a lot of needles. It really starts to mess with my mind, and really starts to make me think that everybody's after me. It makes me so paranoid. You start bugging out because I can feel darkness. And that's the only word I can think of to explain how I felt is that I was in darkness. I could feel dark all around me. It made me so scared because I knew deep down inside that wasn't the person I was created to be. But I couldn't escape it. I couldn't escape the title that I had earned. I couldn't escape the people that I was with. So I just continued on and on. Finally, I found my way to Florida, which is a long story how I got there. But I found my way down there, and though I'd asked Jesus to come in my heart probably 4 years before that, and things started to change. I no longer could be the person that I was. And when my friends would want to go out and do violent stuff or bad stuff, I just couldn't. I was restrained inside. So I got down to Florida, and I was struggling so much with beating myself up over my past. And the director there, he told me to read Romans 6, which says, we've been crucified with Christ and raised again together in his life. Just read it and read it and read it and read it. And finally it hit home with me, and I realized that the person I was crucified with Christ. That I could be raised up together with him in life. That was the moment my life changed. Just everything about me changed. The way I dressed, the way I talked, just my whole outlook on life. So in Florida, I felt led to go get my GED and try to get to college, which was just such a stupid thought on my behalf. So I go with God because in 7th grade, I made it through 7th grade. And in 8th grade, I started getting in a whole lot of trouble. I went about 2 weeks, and they kicked me out and told me I'll come back. So I'll come back the next year. And I went about a month, and they kicked me out. And that was all the education I had. So I couldn't believe that God wanted me to go to college. So I decided that I'd go try to get my GED. And just with drugs off my back, and when my mind started to be clear, I figured out that I was kind of intelligent, and get my GED wasn't that hard. So I went and I got my GED, and I started applying to colleges. And I knew Eric was in Virginia, but I didn't know where he was at in Virginia. So I got accepted to Liberty, and I was talking to Eric on the phone, and he was only like an hour away from here. And for the last 10 years, me and Eric hardly saw each other at all because he was either at college or I was just strung out and didn't want to be around anybody. So the Lord led me to where I could be here right now amongst y'all guys. This is such a great church. I felt nothing but love since I walked in this door. I just feel so good because every church I've ever been in has been either tied to a rehab I was at or tied to people who knew who I was back in my past. It's not like that in this church. I feel like I can be free about who I was and where I've come from. I've been shown nothing but love here. I hope that y'all take advantage of that because this is such a good church. That's about it. That's about my life. I know it's short, but I'm kind of nervous.
This is a miracle, man. I just can't believe it that this is happening. And I just want to say, this is so cool that you guys get to be a part of this. Like I told you, you're a part of a lot of firsts in my life. And I just much about this moment. And I do stand amazed at God and what He can do in a life.